Heyo, OmniDogs and OmniKittens. It's OmniDog here with a request from a lot of viewers for Batman Reptilian by Garth Ennis and Liam Sharp. So I'm happy to do this because I wanted to read the book anyway. First, I have an incredible special cue card made by my wife. Ooh, look, organic priced books. That's right. That's where you go for your $2 off with code OmniDog. These are professionally made. This is how good I am. Actually, this is all edited in. And 5% off your order with the code OmniDog. Ship it together. These codes need to be in capital letters, or all caps as it's known. Check it out. Wow, thanks to my wife. You'll see that again at the end. Anyway, thank you to Organic Price Books. So, Batman Reptilian. Let's go. It's by Garth Ennis. Let's go over a little bit first about Batman and the writers, because recent writers. Ever since Batman's kind of hard reboot in 1985-ish or so with Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller returned Batman sort of only to a night creature, in effect. So every writer has his own voice in Batman. Scott Snyder, Denny O'Neil, Grant Morrison famously made him out to be Bat-God. Mike Barr, Frank Miller, I said, of course, Ed Brubaker, Greg Rucka, Tom King, James Tynion. Batman's always going to be different with a different writer. The writer puts his voice into it, and that's good. It's over an 80-year-old character, and that helps keep the stories fresh. But in our heads, we know how Batman is supposed to act. And if he's not acting according to, and when I say we, I think everyone has a preconceived notion of how Batman should act. And if a writer doesn't hit that note consistently, the book won't be to our taste. For instance, Kevin Smith's Batman. For me, that's not how Batman would act, so I didn't care for his two takes on it, Cacophony and Widening Gyre. Famously, I have hated him. Some people like him. That's cool. Peace and love. It's all good with me. I mean, fine. But so when Garth Ennis is going to write the book, his voice is going to be in there, and you will see, this is the book, Batman Reptilian. So you will get a feeling of how Garth Ennis feels Batman should be written, of course. So when we get down to it, is Batman in this book? This is for me. I can't speak to anybody out there, but you want to know my opinion. Apparently, I don't know why, but you want to know my opinion, so I'm going to give it to you. Garth, first, let's look at this book. It's got a cool cover. And then DC, even though it's standard and black label, it is a black label book. It has a cool exterior cover. And we'll get to the art in a sec, because the art by Liam Sharp is very interesting. It's very interesting. I'll show it to you. Garth Ennis, in my opinion, and I can only give you, I don't want to spoil the story, but he writes Batman very well. We've got kind of the world's greatest detective Batman in this book, because Batman has to solve not a public menace. There is something in Gotham City. Well, there's always something in Gotham City, but something in Gotham City is tearing apart his supervillains, his rogues gallery. These guys like Scarecrow, Penguin, Joker, Two-Face. These guys are all getting eviscerated. not killed. Their henchmen are getting killed, but they're getting eviscerated. Like they have to hold their guts in. Now that's not shown, but it's implied. And it's up to Batman to figure out the connection between a meeting that happened and what's happening to all the villains that attended that meeting. They're getting eviscerated. That's kind of as far as I want to go, and then I'm going to describe Batman. Batman is extremely tough, extremely well trained, as you want him to be. He's got, there's, what I like about Garth Ennis is he manages to work in a really warm and not super funny, but funny relationship with Batman and Alfred, or with the hood off Bruce Wayne, Batman and Alfred. They've got they've got a really kind of dry give and take that lightens it up a little bit, and it's a really nice touch. So here's some of the art that Liam Sharp did, and it's interesting because the regular populace and Batman are portrayed fairly realistically for a comic book. Let's take a look. This is his confrontation with a big boxer that got off free from a trial where he raped and assaulted these women, and Batman's facing him down right there on the court steps. And Batman is just his typical self, just making this guy look to be the big coward that he is. He comes up to the guy and just starts calling him a coward. It's very well done. Now, one thing you have to be careful of when you read this book is that the scenes of the evisceration and things like that are represented by empty space, tiny little empty space. It's like you'll wait a couple beats and Batman will say something like, well, that was disgusting, or words to that effect. So you need to watch that, because otherwise you'll say, what happened? But follow the panels carefully and they will all flow and make sense to you. Here's some more of the art. And what's interesting is that Liam Sharp, while he makes the regular characters, now some of it's so dark and in the night, you can't really even see it that well. Well, I guess you can see it that well. Batman starts working over a Russian human trafficker, gets him to infiltrate a gang, I won't say more than that, and be his inside source so he can try and figure out who's eviscerating the villains. And here you see who is at the meeting. I'm not spoiling anything, but you can see how Liam Sharp makes them extremely exaggerated and grotesque. Like, check out the Joker and Penguin. Poison Ivy's in back. Let's see who else is here. Two-Face is there. Scarecrow. Scarecrow looks like Man-Bat, but I mean, look here at how he portrays Penguin and the Joker. Very exaggerated, almost Arkham Asylum-esque. The Grant Morrison, Dave McKean book type exaggerated, but everybody else is relatively normally drawn, which I think is a cool touch. Batman's haunting the dreams of this Russian guy, and it's great. It's done very subtly. Let's see if I can get just some more art so I can talk. Now, I don't want to go too far. Okay, here he is. He calls the Penguin a useless little gargoyle, which I think is amazing. The dialogue is super sharp Garth Ennis writing. I really dug it. And as I said before, his relationship with Alfred is really droll and subtle and funny. But they work together, and it's great. Here's some more. You can see, this is a good representative of the art. I mean, you can see that's the Batmobile. Sometimes you really have to stare at the art to make it out. I'd like to find that Beats where you don't see, they're in there. The beats where you don't see it and then you see Batman's reaction. That's where the stuff happens that isn't represented. So here's some more of the art. And Garth Ennis's voice for Batman, I feel, is spot on. He's the world's greatest detective in this book, trying to solve it through... I want to give a good review, but I also don't want to give too much away. First of all, it's a 5-star book for me. Top 10 book of the year, my favorite Batman story so far this year. It's highly readable, and I think it would even benefit from several reads because I'm sure that I'll pick up even more details. Here's some more of the art. But what we've got is a highly trained detective using science to track down what eviscerated these villains, what it has to do with the main character. I don't know. Does it say it on the back cover? Because I don't want to spoil it. Okay, Killer Croc. It says it on the back cover. So he's trying to track down Killer Croc and what he has to do with this. It's not Killer Croc that's done this. Interestingly, it's not Killer Croc. And here Batman is sending text messages to the Russian as his girlfriend. He's pretending to be the Russian's girlfriend while the Russian's in deep with the gang that he is. And I love this book. I thought it was... I think Garth Ennis's voice for Batman is real, authentic. I think you'll enjoy it. I think it's... his confrontation with the Joker is perfect, and his detective work, that's just the first half of the book where his detective work leads him, and then where he finds Killer Croc. And I don't want to spoil anything about what Batman and Killer Croc go through, because that's the meat, so to speak, of the book, and where it gets really interesting, really cool, really out there, and just really amazing. You pick up on things like the early history of Killer Croc and things that Batman brings to Killer Croc. And Killer Croc is also written really well. Garth Ennis's voice for Killer Croc is spot on in this book. I don't want to show you... Okay, this will be the last thing I show you, because anything further than this... Oh, this is where... Is this where the beats happen? No. Anything I show you further than this is just going to spoil it. Because it's Batman, when he finds Killer Croc, that the revelations happen that make up the entire story. And it'll explain everything, because Batman has... solved what's happened, figured it out, and it's just a question of having to get to the source. And it is a super fun, excellent read. I highly recommend it to everybody. One Batman writer that I forgot to mention who lends his voice to Batman is Warren Ellis. He's another one that I forgot to mention. I mean, he's been written by 100 or more writers, obviously. Mike Barr, rather. I can go down the list. You know, Batman in the 70s, Jim Aparo drawing him. He was out in the sunshine, walking, admiring the day. You know, pretty girls, what a nice spring day. This is not that Batman, and that's what Frank Miller changed back when The Dark Knight Returns came out. He is now completely a creature of the night. So I highly recommend this book. I think you'll love it. I think it's worth owning. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to reread it. As you know, I'm purging stuff I'm not going to read, out the door. This is a keeper. I dug it. I think you'll dig it, because the way the book's set up, what Garth Ennis does with Batman, how he structures the story, is very true to the Batman we all think of, and even more so. I think it's a new take, a little bit of a new take on Batman. You'll recognize Batman, but the dialogue's very crisp, and Batman's got an attitude, and it comes through in this book. That's the one thing I think that is the most fun about this book, is Batman's cop-attitude. He is way above these guys, and he knows it, and he is just... He says early in the book, "You know I won't kill," as he dangles the Russian mobster off a building. And it's just the way Garth Ennis writes Batman, I think, is really well done in this book. I highly recommend it. Great book. I'm pretty sure it's available, I bet it is, at organicpricebooks.com, where you use the code OmniDog in all caps for $2 off. And you save a lot of money if you ship 3 books or more together, 5% off with OmniDog Ship It Together. See, check it out. My wife did these. Isn't that she great? So, get Batman Reptilian. You won't regret it. I think you'll dig it. I'm open to your thoughts and suggestions, your comments. Please subscribe, hit the like button, leave your comments. I always dig hearing from people, whether you like the book or not, whether you like me or not. Hey, peace and love, peace and love. You do your thing, I'll do mine. But I think you're going to dig Batman Reptilian. Do yourself a favor, pick it up, and enjoy Garth Ennis' voice, which is excellent in Batman. Peace and love, peace and love.